All right, guys, what's happening? What's happening? Happy Monday. It is Monday, February 7th, 2022. This morning, we're going to talk a little bit about navigating both failure and success. I see a lot of people struggle with, when they're going through a tough time. How do you actually get out of that? How do you handle it? How do you, not get too down on yourself? And on the flip side, when you're having some success, how do you navigate that? How do you make sure that you're not getting too high or too low in life? That's what we're going to talk about this morning. Let's get started.
It is ultimately important for you to look at your goals, truly what you want to do in your life, and then look at the people who you spend the most time with in your life and figure out if that lines up.
All right, guys, what's happening? Happy Monday to you. Hope you guys are doing awesome. It is good to be back. I just got back late last night from a very productive weekend in South Florida, planning out some more of 2022, getting into the details of our Top Contractor School Inner Circle Retreat, looking back at the last one, looking forward at the next one. So it is good to be back in the saddle here. We're in our new office space here. So as you can see, it's a little unfinished compared to normal, but that will be changing. You're going to see that over the coming weeks here. We'll start to have a lot of stuff coming in here, and excited about that, excited about the new space, and excited to be in here with our entire team. So we have a big enough space now for everybody to have a home in the office, and that is pretty exciting. So what I want to talk about this morning, though, is navigating failure and navigating success. When we talk about, navigating failure, there's a couple of things that come to mind when I see people, going through a tough time. Maybe their business just for a moment isn't exactly where they would want it to be. And, I see people react to that, and I see people really get to a challenging place sometimes, where they doubt everything. They doubt, why am I doing what I'm doing? Am I in the right place? Should I be doing something different? Like literally to their core, people get off track and really disoriented on the path of where they're going. And when I see that, it's always a red flag to me that, generally speaking, there's more things going on in somebody's life. And so I wanted to talk about navigating failure this morning, but as I was thinking about, navigating failure and the challenges that I see people face there, I also, on the flip side, see people having a hard time navigating success. And what does that look like? Well, that looks like, people that go from, maybe not having a lot or having a lot, but then having significantly more success, and how they handle it is just not great. And I think that we've all seen that, right? The way that people show up, the way that they start to talk, the way that they start to evolve. And I'm a believer in the quote that money, success makes you more of who you actually are. And so I want to talk about how to navigate both of those things. And it really comes down to never getting too high and never getting too low, regardless of whether you're winning or losing in the moment. And I think it's one of the most important lessons that we can learn is, falling in love with the process, right? Is really the key to all of this. It's really the key to how do you navigate failure? How do you navigate success? Well, you stick to the process regardless of the circumstances, as long as that process is proven. And so when you stick to the process and you just lean into that, your ability to control the highs and lows is significantly higher, right? You have significantly more control over the highs and lows, because really your success isn't determined on the outcome. I put up a post every once in a while on my Instagram stories, sometimes on my Facebook stories, that says, divorce the outcome and marry the process. And I think that that's one of the keys to navigating failure and navigating success, is that, the most successful people that I know, the ones that handle whether it's failure or success. And those people who most view as incredibly successful, they experience both. How they handle it isn't really connected to the outcome, because how they show up every day is the same regardless of the circumstances, regardless of what's going on in their life, regardless of how, difficult the adversity is that they're facing, how many days in a row that they haven't been successful. They've experienced failure day after day after day for a period of time. Just hasn't been a good day or a good week for people. They show up the same. And so I encourage you guys to think about that. Navigating failure, how you navigate failure, really says a lot about where you are in your life. I mean that. And how you navigate success also says a lot about where you are in your life. The example that we've probably all seen is that people that are successful are really, really focused on, what they have achieved and what they have, and, showing people that, and really becoming obsessed over this success that they've been able to achieve. And I've seen that happen in people, and I've seen things get more difficult for those folks as a result of that, right? Maybe not immediately, but down the road, it gets harder for them to continue to grow their business, continue to grow personally, continue to maintain great relationships, because they're not just not navigating success in the right way. They're falling out of love with the process, and they're falling in love with the outcome. And so the outcome only maintains itself, guys, through the process, through understanding the process of where you are today, where you are tomorrow, what it takes in the evolution of that process to continue to grow. And this is whether you're leading a company or leading yourself. What gets you here will not take you there. And understanding that you have to stay humble through that whole process. You have to stay focused on what it is, the activities that it takes to actually create that success. If you don't stay focused on that, you will have a very difficult time navigating success. If you don't stay focused on the process when things are bad, if you don't get back to square one, people ask me all the time when we go through adversity, what do we do? How do we handle it? The truth is, guys, we just go back to basics. Everybody on the team gets focused on doing their job, contributing to whatever it is that gets us out of that particular uncomfortable situation. And when we get to that point where we can start to get back to basics and we start to retune the engine, that temporary feeling of failure goes away. And generally speaking, that when we get to that point of having a lot of adversity, having a difficult time, something that happens is uncomfortable for us. When we go back through and look at what happened, it was a breakdown of two things: process and communication. And so if we learn how to fall in love with the process, if we learn how to fall in love with over communicating and making those the real pillars of our lives, whether that's in your marriage, in a relationship with your children, in business, it's all the same, guys. Because isn't it true, when it comes to your marriage, the process would be dating your wife, making sure that there is time for you to go out on a date with your spouse, making sure that there is time for you to take out the trash every week, making sure that the promises that you make to your spouse, you are actually delivering on. That's the process. And isn't it true that when you have a successful marriage, that there's generally a high level of communication that's open, and there's going to be conflicts, right? There's going to be things that you disagree on, but the more that you communicate through that, the more you grow as an individual. And so navigating success and failure is almost one and the same, isn't it? When you think about what it takes to navigate either one, it comes down to living life by the basics, not getting too fancy, And those people that continue exponential growth, it's exactly what they do. They navigate success and failure basically the same. You know, I've been reading a lot over the past handful of months here about Berkshire Hathaway, about Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger and the way that they operate. And it's very difficult for people to relate to those guys because of the way that they live, right? There's not a lot of people that are going to spend 6 or 7 hours a day reading. There's not a lot of people that are going to discipline themselves to make the types of decisions that they've made. But there's something that you see when you listen to them explain the investments. There's been some that have been very successful. There have been some that have absolutely been terrible investments. But there's a matter of ownership. There's a matter of consistency in the way that they explain any decision that they've made. And they have a high level of accountability, of self-accountability. And they always go back to explain how they violated the rules of their own process. When something happens that's not what they wanted, when the outcome is not what they wanted, it is almost always as a result of violating one of their values, violating one of their cardinal rules of investing. And so when you think about that in your own life, what does that look like for you? What are those values that you operate from? And when you're navigating success or you're navigating failure, the way that you behave is built on a set of principles. It's built on a set of values. It's built on who you actually are. And by the way, if you see somebody behaving in this way today, it doesn't mean they'll behave that way next year or the year after. There can be people that make a complete 180 from the way that they handle failure or the way that they handle success. I've seen people handle failure with massive amounts of anger and frustration, and a very short time later, understand the context of their behavior and completely change. But it takes guidance, mentorship, awareness to be able to do that. And so when you look at your own life, I ask you this question seriously this morning. What does it look like? How are you navigating failure and success? Small failure, small success, huge failures, huge success. What does it look like? How are you reacting? Have you invested enough time in yourself to understand your own emotional awareness? Are you able to handle things without losing your cool? Are you able to take situations of adversity and turn them into massive opportunity? Are you able to take someone who's attacking you and use that as a valuable learning lesson for yourself, for the other person, and for the people around you? Because navigating success and failure, guys, is part of life. It actually is life. Those that are most successful just go from one failure to the next, one period of adversity to the next with a lot more enthusiasm. So I challenge you to think about that today. What does that look like? And if you are challenged right in this moment, right? If you are challenged with how to handle success or how to handle adversity, like you're celebrating like crazy when you have a huge win, or you're just totally down in the dumps when you have a loss, man, hit me up, shoot me a DM and let me know, man. I'd love to jump on a call with you and give you some perspective on how you can handle that differently, because it doesn't have to be that way. Those extreme emotions will make your life a roller coaster ride that's difficult to stay on. Makes it difficult for people to experience the high emotions and low emotions. And it's why people experience depression and anxiety and all the things that so many people in the world experience today. But when you focus on the things that you can control, you can't always control the outcome, but you can control the process, the work that you put in, how you show up every day. When you focus on those things, life gets easier. And when you only focus on the outcome, when you tie everything about how you feel to the uncontrollables, life becomes a roller coaster ride. It's a lot more difficult. So if you are out there and you're thinking, man, that's me this morning, please shoot me a DM. I'd love to help you in any way that I can. And these are the tricks, the secrets that I see every single person that's incredibly successful. And I don't mean just financially. I mean actually fulfilled, actually happy in their life. They have great marriages. They have great businesses all the way around. These are great people. They're great parents. This is what they do. Not too high, not too low. Do they celebrate? Of course, man. Yeah, if you don't celebrate, you're selling yourself short, right? When you have something incredible happen, of course you should recognize that, celebrate. Don't just ignore it because you're afraid to celebrate. That's not the answer either, but there is a balance to this. And if you achieve it, man, life gets really great. It really does. It gets super clear, where you're going, what you're trying to accomplish. And that cascades down to all the people that surround you, your children, your spouse, everybody. Doesn't happen overnight, but man, it is incredible when it does happen. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys this morning. If that's you, please hit me up. I'd love to help you. I'd love to give you some perspective on how this can change your life. Navigating success, navigating failure. Pay attention to how people do that. It'll say a lot about where they are in that particular moment of their life, their level of awareness in their life. If they can't burden the responsibility of success, it is very likely that they won't have it for long. Think about it. All based in values, all based in principles, every decision, every behavior, every reaction. And so if you're not there yet, the good news is you can work on it, because there was definitely a point in my life where I was not quite as good at it as I am today. I still got a long way to go, but your level of awareness will absolutely help you be able to move forward in a way that's intentional, that's balanced, that makes you feel in control of your life, and never puts you in that spot where you feel like things are off track. So happy Monday to you guys, man. It is good to be here. Thank you guys for sharing it with me. We got a bunch of people on the stream here. The downloads on the podcast continue to grow. I appreciate you guys sharing it out, and look forward to seeing you guys again tomorrow morning, same place, same time, right here on Morning Perspective. I love you guys. Thanks for being here.
It is ultimately important for you to look at your goals, truly what you want to do in your life, and then look at the people who you spend the most time with in your life and figure out if that lines up.